been very entrenched in the viewpoint of the skeptic. Uh, and you know how they say, well, maybe it's the simplicity of the book of Genesis, the way it just states it. But you know how sometimes the religion is called an opiate for the masses, you know? And it's just like, you know, way back in the day when humanity was very simple and we didn't know much about science or the way things worked, you know, people really began to realize that, you know, men appeared on the face of the earth for a short time, and after that they died and they faded from the earth. There was nothing known about the afterlife. They didn't come back to tell us what was going on there. And so, you know, this caused a great fear amongst people. People became unruly. People, you know, began to turn to depravity of all sorts, you know, drunkenness, lewdness, and all this type of thing, because they saw that after a short period here on life, that our existence, you know, ceased. And so the leaders of the community had to come up with something to placate these people, something to calm the people down. And so the skeptic will say, you know, they had this convention or this evolved over time to where they constructed this story that, well, there's somebody that's bigger than us, that's outside of us. We'll call him God, and we'll say that, you know, he created us, and you know, on the other side of life there's the afterlife, and what we do here in this life will determine our fate in the next life, and therefore we'll set up this system of right and wrong, where if people do right here on earth, they'll be rewarded in the afterlife, and if people who do wrong here on earth, they'll be punished in the afterlife. That way we can kind of keep control of the people here on earth, so they don't just go totally crazy, you know, and they have a little bit of order and stability about them while they're here. They don't just, you know, act like hooligans the entire time and cause destruction upon the face of the earth while they're here, because they fear that, you know, this is all there is. So let's construct this story, and this is how religion came about. You know, and you hear people talk like that. But I guess, I don't know, Genesis almost seems that way sometimes. It's like, I don't know if it's the simplicity of it or what it is, but it just says, well, you know, they have to explain, well, how did man get here? Well, let's say there was God. Let's say he spoke it into existence, that man should exist. And then, you know, well, then there's animals. Let's say, how did the animals get there? Well, let's say God created them too. Well, how did all the trees get here? Well, let's say God made them. Let's throw that in there, you know, and then, well, what about the land and the sky and the water? Well, let's put that in there, you know. So they'll say, well, on the sixth day or whenever it was, he separated the earth from the sky and all this. Well, now we've got men and women. What about the differences between men and women? How did that all come about? And I don't know. Sometimes Genesis seems like that. You know, he created man, and then it almost seems like the guys realize, oh, well, guys, we haven't explained the existence of woman yet. We just say God created man. Well, let's say he created woman out of man's side, you know. And so the story just goes on and on and on and on. But all these questions keep coming up in my mind, like when God said, let there be light. Well, if there was no light ever before, how did God speak? How did God say light? You know, the humans made up the word light. You know, we didn't get it from God, or unless, you know, the writer I guess that's where divine inspiration comes in. The writer of Genesis was divinely inspired. Then he knew the word light even before the concept of light existed on the earth. I don't know. See, there's lots of questions that come up here. And then, you know, the deal of nakedness and things like that. Well, why is it wrong for us to be naked? Well, let's say, you know, that there was this tree, and they ate this tree. And then, you know, is the whole deal of the temptation with the serpent. You know, well, I think most of us agree that it's not a literal serpent. So, you know, how did that all come about? How did good and evil come into the world? It almost seems like somebody was working backwards and just trying to explain the state of existence that they found themselves in. And so, the rest of the Bible was very easy for me to accept. You know, all the time of God's people on through the law, through the prophets, and then through the time of Christ, and all that, how Christ is our salvation, redemption, you know, by faith in Christ and all this. That part is a lot simpler, but like Josiah said, the most difficult question comes in the beginning because it's foundational. And so, this video doesn't make any strict, clear statement of a question, but it's just, I guess, thoughts that I have, and maybe doubts that I have, that sometimes creep in concerning Genesis.